Hello guys and welcome to another Project Anime MC video. In today's video we're going to be giving you guys a tutorial on Golden Experience. Now we're having one for the past 1.5 months. Well, we've been an emphasis on dying, and a bit of extra dying. I've been playing Destiny. Yeah, I kind of don't give a shit. M50 was supposed to record. He's kind of missing in action. And Vulpix already recorded his, so I can't really blame him. So I had to make some more. Now we have GER. So yeah. Enjoy, expect more tutorials because I had to do a lot of them. Well, I have to, I haven't made them. Expect, insert a list right here. And some more showcases, when I finish them. If I finish them. And yeah. Also, there's no explanation on basic tutorials because this is advanced commands, not your simple stuff. So, get used to it. And off we go! Now, to begin with, you usually have to start with one of two things, either the tag or the stand. This is the third time recording this, I'm about to kill myself. Now, to begin with, you either have tag at p remove journal or tag at p add journal. As the command implies, they're gonna respectively either add the command or remove the command. You guessed it. If you have the tag, it's not gonna add it again. This is not a score, this is just depression. And if you don't have the tag, it's not gonna do anything. And the item we're gonna be using is a clock. Why? We're rewinding time. What else would we use? A gun? Now, onto the stand. For this, we're going to be using a full set of armor dyed with one yellow dye and one white dye, and an extra helmet dyed only purple for the crotch. That's how I call it. Deal with it. Now, as always, you first have the stand, which is going to be GER, with the name tag GER. Once you place down the armor stand and equip all the armor, you give it the tag, and as the usual stand videos, if you haven't seen them, okay, it's just gonna teleport to the machine automatic and we'll turn it invisible because we have the prep work already made. Same thing with the crotch, but not literally. We're gonna have to first give it the helmet or the tag or the name, I mean, of Dinnerbone, which will basically turn it upside down. After this, we're gonna give it the tag of GER, not the name, the tag. This one basically with the system that we're just gonna demonstrate, it's just gonna TP it on the crotch area, basically giving it the purple effect. Like this. Hooray, now you have GER. And for the invisibility commands, we basically have effect at E name is equal to GER, invisibility to 1 true, basically no particles. And then we have a TP execute at E name GER, TP at E tag GER at 0.6 blocks upwards. Now to begin with the traditional stand system. Test for at E tag journal, it just tests if there's a tag of journal. From here we have a comparator that leads to a not gate and just a normal gate. It'll basically, if it's a not gate or there isn't a tag of journal, it'll just TP the stand 2 blocks ahead of it, and I added spin because fun. And in the other side, we're gonna do the stand follow, which will basically we're gonna be teleporting the stands 7 blocks to our right, 0.3 blocks higher than us, and 0.5 blocks behind us. All of them at the same time, facing the same direction we are, so it gives it the effect of a stand follow. And as we can show when we get the tag, it's gonna be behind our asses. No, don't worry, it's not your uncle down the street. It's just a stand. From here, we can go and start the actual return to zero. Now this one is not, as always, not the same one as shown in our videos, but it's similar enough, and it basically shows the same concept. Now from here, we test for at everything that has the name of clock. Not a Glock, clock. From here, we're gonna teleport the item, because we usually do that, right into a point where it's not in the player, so the player cannot re-pick it up, and basically we have full control of it. From here, we're gonna start getting into the actual ability, in which we're gonna summon from Giorno a new armor stand called Return to Zero Center. Basically, it's gonna be the center point for everything that's gonna happen afterwards. After we do this, we're gonna have another command block executing at the Return to Zero Center, saving the structure in a negative 20 block radius, range, not radius, this is not a circle, this is Minecraft, in a range of 20 blocks back, 20 blocks to the right, 20 blocks forward, 20 blocks to the left, 20 blocks up, and no blocks down, because F that. And we also have it so it doesn't save mobs, so we don't have repeated stands, command block mine cards. We don't have repeated entities. We don't want to have 4 cows out of 1 example, but like, whatever. From here, we actually start the return to 0 step, which is to our right column. It's like 7 blocks. It gives me diarrhea just thinking about it, and it makes me want to cry. That's not the one. Now this one basically starts off with creating a new scoreboard, which is basically called Return to Zero, RTC. Scoreboard objectives at RTC dummy, as the name implies, it creates a new scoreboard. Dummy. You have to add the dummy. No, it's not optional. It's a repeating command block and it needs redstone. We don't want to have this repeating constantly. Now from here, we go to the next step. Now this command is going to be in the description because my god, I got diarrhea just thinking of the amount of exceptions I had to write. So we're basically going to execute at E, name return to 0 center. We're going to add to all of the entities that aren't the ones excluded in there, which are basically things you don't want to give it. Because I'm not going to lie, I don't want to make an item turn back in time. That'll make my life cry. And we're just basically gonna add it to the score. We're not giving it an actual score, we're just adding it, so it only has a score of 0. And it's only in a range of 20, so it also fits in with our structure, as it says there at the end, R20. Now from here, we start the actual process of identifying all the entities. From here, we execute at everything within the closest entity that has a score of 0, and it'll summon a new armor stand called RTZ Anchor. It's basically going to be the anchor for when you're teleported back. Only to those with a score of 0. Not to the scores of more than 0, just a score of 0. This is important, because we don't want it to be repeating every single cycle. We just want it to do it once and once only. From here, we go to the next one, which is basically we're going to be taking the same armor stand we just summoned and teleporting it into our same location, which is not going to be any different, with the big difference being it's facing where we're facing, not looking only north. It's going to be facing where we're facing. So if we're looking really deep into our soul, it's going to be staring really deep into our soul. So that's important as well if you want a better immersion. From here, we carry on to the next one, which is just adding armor stand, the score to the armor stand, because we have to basically link ourselves. No, we just can't do, oh, let me just teleport to the same armor stand because there's going to be like 20, and I'm not gonna lie, making one that it's a fully automatic is not fun. So we're basically gonna be linking up our scoreboard with the scoreboard of the armor stand. We merge them together, and now we have our anchor points, which carries on to our next point, which we're basically going to be adding a score to the amount of entities being affected by return to 0. So pretty simple. Execute at E with a RTC of 0, type which isn't an armor stand. This is also important. And the closest one, we're gonna add an RTC amount to return to 0 of 1. From here we get into the depression commands, aka scoreboard operations. Scoreboard operations, what we're basically going to be doing is setting our score to be the equivalent, when we're only at 0, to be the equivalent of RTC amount. Why? Because, yes, we just basically want to always have a different score per person. And this same train of thought carries on to the next one, where we're going to be repeating this, but instead of setting ours the same as the amount, we're going to set the armor stand the same as the amounts. And the way we're going to do it is we're only going to do it when the entity has more than a score of 1, and it's only going to do it with an anchor that is in a radius of 0, which is basically just on top of you. The best way to do this is when you just summon or TP. That's it. Trying to do that pinpoint perfect by just walking is basically impossible. And the final step of this, just to complete this, is just a particle. Because particles are fun. It's just gonna be a little particle above your head, basically saying, hey, you got affected by this. So good luck. And this is gonna repeat 40 times in 2 seconds. Why? Because 20 ticks are 1 second, and we're doing this for 40 ticks, the more you know. Not really. And from here, we can carry on to more important stuff, like sound effects. We have 3 sound effects playing one after the other, as a down, down, down. We're gonna have execute at all players, play sound deactivate beacon, or beacon deactivate, however it is. It's written right there. At all players with a volume of 1 and pitch of 1, which is basically just the base level. Perfectly fine. And this one does not have a tick delay, because the next ones will. From here, we carry on to the next one, which has a pitch of 0.9, which is a bit lower. And it does have a tick delay, if I don't stand corrected, of 30. Let me see. I am correct. God damn it. And from here, we carry on to the next one, which is 0.8. You can make this indefinite, but if you hate yourself just as much as I hate myself, then you wouldn't do that. 50. Because we don't want this to basically repeat infinitely. And now we carry on to the next part, which is basically, this is optional. You can just connect this directly, but I wanted to give you some choice of freedom. From here, we're going to kill the item of the clock 40 ticks after it's been summoned. So if we scroll down to tick delay, 40 ticks. We're basically going to kill it, simple enough. Which is basically going to stop the process of the summoning, sound effects, TPing the clock, and we're basically going to now give you the choice. By how, you may ask? Well, we're now going to give you 2 items, Nether Star and Barrier. Basically, the way it's going to work, if you drop the Barrier, you're going to cancel it. If you drop the Nether Star, you're going to activate it. And now, let's explain the easier one. Barrier. Now, this one is just basically test for is there's anything called barrier. If there is, it's gonna basically start the process. Starting off with killing at everything called barrier. Why? Because fuck barriers. Then we carry on to kill at everything called return to zero center because we no longer need it. From here, we carry on to killing all return to zero anchors. Why? Because we still don't need them. Less entities, the better. We then clear the item of Nether Star from the player's inventory because it will cause some problems later on. We remove the score. Good. And finally, we give the tag to the tag of Giorno another clock. Why? Because they need to reuse the ability. Because of course they do. Now, we carry on to the actual Nether Star. Test for at e name is equals to Nether Star. Yes, the quotation marks are important. Yes, and when you're doing named items with spaces, you need to add the quotation mark or else it won't work. It will account for it as a different type. So please add the quotation marks. If I see a comment saying, why isn't it working, and I notice that it's a quotation mark, I will walk to your house and snap your neck. From here, we use a comparator to test for the next steps. We start off with TPing at the Nether Star, because of course we do. Again, for these tutorials. Enjoy. Now, from here we start doing other steps, like we give out all the entities that have been affected with return to zero with a score of more than 1. That's the 1 point. Basically, it means that anything greater than 1 will be affected. And it'll give it blindness 2, 3. Why 2, 3? I don't know. The 2 is the time, 3 is the efficiency, it's still blind. It's fine. And true, because we don't want the particles. Same thing with this. We're just basically going to be teleporting everything with a score of more than 1 to be teleported into the same location. We don't want those fuckers moving. Good. From here, we carry on to the next step. We load the structure. Why? Because we want to basically rewind time. What this is going to do is going to spawn it negative 20 blocks, negative 20. Basically the exact same spot because the way that structure loads is only positive, so you need to throw it into the negatives so it can actually load correctly. And we're going to be loading the correct structure. From here, we can carry on to the next part, which is really simple. Killing Eddie with the name of Return to Zero Center. Why? Because we don't need it anymore. I sound like I sound like a disc. It's fine. Then we play a sound, cause sounds are cute unless you're deaf. Which, how are you listening to this? Good. Execute at A, play sound at B can activate at A with a pitch and sound of 1-1. It's fine. Which is pretty self-explanatory, not that loud, and it's perfect normal pitch. From here, we clear the barrier. We don't want problems. And from here, we do go to the last step of this column. And we're back, because there were technical issues, because of course there were. If there's anybody to blame, it's Vulpix. So yeah, now to the command. Well, it seems this man is trying to kill me. Now we start off with, as always, effect at E tag Giorno is equal to is basically regeneration for 20 seconds at 10 true because we don't want a particle and we do want to heal Giorno because it's returned to 0. Now if you didn't understand anything, well good luck. Now listen to this at 0.5 audio and give us more views. You heard us here. Now from here we can start into the more repetitive stuff. Now this is basically a 20 block pillar with 3 commands at the end that are more important, basically repeating the same thing over and over again, which is basically execute at E name, return to 0 anchor with the score or return to 0 1, TP at everything which isn't an armor stand with the return to 0 score of 1, basically to the same location facing 10. Now, you have to do this however many times you want. We did 20 because fuck our sanities. You could do this up to 40, up to 80, up to 100. Now remember, if your game crashes, it's not my fault, it's your fault for having a peanut brain. So you just repeat this endlessly. Ignore the order sometimes because I am retarded and I accidentally placed them out of order. Now from here, once you reach, we did 20, but the thing is 20 is over at 10. Why? Because I lost a brain cell and added 10 twice. You know, this is not a joke. Once you reach 20, there is 20, and then on top or below is 10. Why is it out of order? Good question. Now from here, we can start off in the next part, which is basically where the red block is. You're starting backwards, Vluplex. Now, in the red part, we have execute at E name return to 0 anchors going to summon another one called return to 0 particle. What this is going to do is more visual, because your eyes are needed to see stuff, unless you're blind. Anyway, so from here, you go to the next command block. What does it do? Kill at everything with the return to 0 anchor. Why? Because we don't need it. Less entities, the better. And from here, we play, I think, a sound. You do. Beacon activate. Why? Because your ears are needed. Except if you're deaf, as I just mentioned, like, I don't know how long ago. And now for the final parts of this final abomination. The finale! Now behind this giant pillar, there is like 5 command blocks that are basically just, very simply, kill at E name called Netherstar. Scoreboard objectives remove return to 0. So, scoreboard remove, kill at E with the name of return to 0 particles, less entities. Then kill at E name of Netherstar, and then finally, to finish this off, with a tick delay of 100. We're gonna give at A the tag of Giorno Clock. Now, something we forgot to say is in the command block of the scoreboard remove, which is the first one, or the impulse, it also has a tick delay of 50 because we don't want this to end immediately. We could, but not fun. We want some good things for your eyeballs. We want you to enjoy this. Now, to basically make this work 20 times better, we have a B-shaped command thing, which is really simple. It's this, which basically gives us some extra info, like basically giving out all type armor stand TPing itself to its same location. From here, we go to the next part, giving out E with the name of return to 0. Invisibility, because we don't want to see armor stands. They're disgusting. From here, we do the same thing with particles, which is to our left this case. We basically give it to the anchor, because we don't want to see them. We do the same thing with particle, because we don't want to see them. We also make the particle spin, because insert JoJo Part 7 joke here. I was about to say spin tusk, haha funny, but no. It is not. And finally, we finish this with execute at E name, return to 0 particle, particle minecraft.enrod. is one block above its original location, one block forward. And since it's spinning, it's gonna give it a circle effect. And now for the showcase. Why? Because yes, I'm gonna take that and let's go. Now, we want to show this the best way possible, so I'm gonna take some random blocks from over here. Yoink. And we're gonna make a smiley face. Now from here, we have a smiley face. Hooray! Now from here, we're gonna activate return to 0. And now we have the little particle above our heads. And you know what? I don't feel like this is a good one, so we're gonna cancel it using barrier. Shablam! And as you can see, it's now you have the clock back. Not a Glock, because I shoot myself with it. Now, if you use the clock again and say, hey, you know what? You know what? Life isn't happy. If you would like to please activate return to 0, thank you. Now, once you say this, you're like, you know what? Life isn't happy. Fuck smiles. You destroy the happy face. Oh no, it's gone. Now, if we decide to activate return to 0 nether star, what we're basically gonna do is have the smile again, and we're back in our original location. And as you can see, you remember there's something happy to smile about, like... I don't have a line for this. Well, hello there, I'm back, after suddenly disappearing. As you can see, we're missing a person. He's currently being replaced by GER. Completely superior. Yes, equal fight. A man who can barely sleep compared to a stand that basically just returns time to and rewinds it. It's perfectly equal. Now we would like to say, no, we're not dead. Yes, I want to be. I don't know about Vulpix. I'm 50 as well, but that's normal. I mean, it's normal for me as well, but that's not the point. The point is, we're alive. I'm gonna work on more tutorials. I don't want to, but I want to. At the same time, expect more videos. I want to play Destiny. Goodbye.